In the heart of a peaceful suburban neighborhood, where picket fences lined the streets and children played freely, lived Jason Miller, a former police officer known for his dedication to public safety. He had spent over a decade serving with pride, and now in retirement, he reveled in the quieter pace of life alongside his trusted companion, Rex. Rex, a German shepherd with a glossy coat and soulful eyes, was not just any pet. He was a decorated K-9 unit who had once been instrumental in saving lives during critical situations. Rex's accolades were abundant. Together with Jason, he had tackled dangerous scenarios, from apprehending suspects to locating missing persons. His most notable achievement came during a harrowing hostage situation 2 years prior, where Rex had heroically charged into action. His swift instinct led him to detect hidden dangers, allowing officers to safely rescue 3 individuals and incapacitate a volatile suspect. This pivotal moment not only solidified Rex's status among local law enforcement, but also made him a beloved figure in the community. For Jason, Rex was more than a partner, he was family. Their days now consisted of long walks through sun-dappled parks and lazy afternoons lounging on the porch. Neighbors often stopped to chat and admire Rex, sharing stories of his bravery and insisting that having such an admirable dog around made them feel safer indeed. Yet beneath the surface of this idyllic life lurked an impending storm, unbeknownst to Jason. It began with an anonymous complaint filed with the Homeowners Association, HOA. A single voice claiming that Rex's presence was intimidating sent ripples of concern throughout the board. They set forth their ruling, citing community comfort standards, unaware of the rich legacy that preceded this canine's life post-retirement. To the HOA, Rex was merely a threat to tranquility. To Jason and the community around him, Rex was a guardian and hero deserving of respect. As Jason stared at the notice pinned to his door, indignation welled within him. He knew he had to stand up for Rex, not just as his loyal partner, but as a symbol of service and valor that transcended urban legends. No dog like Rex should face this kind of unjust scrutiny without a fight. The morning after Jason received the notice, he couldn't shake the feeling of disbelief. How could anyone perceive Rex, a dog who had dedicated his life to service and protection, as intimidating? He had witnessed countless neighbors approach Rex with smiles, kneeling down to pet him and share stories about his past heroics. But the HOA's abrupt complaint had changed everything overnight. Later that day, Jason attended an HOA meeting to confront the board members directly. As he entered the small, stuffy room filled with concerned homeowners, he felt his heart race, not from fear but from a deep-rooted need to defend Rex. The board members sat at the front discussing community issues when Jason was called to speak. A tense silence settled over the room as he approached the podium. "Thank you for allowing me to address this matter," Jason began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I understand there's been a complaint regarding my dog Rex, alleging he is intimidating." A murmur swept through the crowd. "But I'd like to highlight that Rex isn't just a pet, he's a decorated K-9 who has saved lives." As Jason spoke, he noticed some nodding in agreement while others shot skeptical glances at him. One board member, Susan Hartfield, was quick to interject. "While we appreciate Rex's service to law enforcement, our primary concern is the comfort of all residents. We have community standards to maintain, and some neighbors have felt uncomfortable with a large dog that could potentially be viewed as a threat." The words hung in the air like a heavy fog. Jason felt a surge of anger and frustration. He knew Rex was not only harmless but also an integral part of their neighborhood's spirit. "I'm sorry, but Rex poses no threat," Jason countered. "His past speaks for itself, and I'm willing to provide evidence of his character." Susan remained unmoved. "Regardless of his past, we have to ensure everyone feels safe in our community. The complaint has been noted, and we will proceed with our decision." Jason left the meeting feeling defeated but more determined than ever. He wouldn't let one unfounded complaint tarnish Rex's reputation or undermine their place in the community they loved. An idea took root in his mind: he would fight back for Rex. As Jason stepped out of the HOA meeting, the world felt as if it had tilted on its axis. The sun shone brightly overhead, but all he could see was a cloud of confusion lingering in his mind. How had it come to this? The notion that Rex, his loyal companion and a hero to many, could be viewed as a threat bewildered him. He replayed the meeting in his head, grappling with the board's decision and their justification rooted in vague community comfort standards. The frustration simmered within him like a pot on the verge of boiling over. Jason had always prided himself on being part of a supportive neighborhood where neighbors looked out for one another. Yet now he felt isolated, as if he were defending an unwarranted accusation against a beloved member of the community. Who was this anonymous complainant, and what motivated such a damaging claim against Rex? Jason paced around his yard, Rex sitting calmly beside him, his head resting on Jason's knee, oblivious to the upheaval swirling around them. It was precisely moments like these that reminded Jason of the bond they shared, a bond forged through years of trust and mutual respect. The idea that someone could see Rex as intimidating felt like an affront not only to the dog, but also to their entire journey together. Determined not to back down, Jason resolved to gather evidence that showcased Rex's true character. He thought about reaching out to local law enforcement and even bringing in Rex's former handler, Lieutenant Thompson, who could attest to Rex's valor. In those early hours after the meeting, inspiration began to surge within him. This wasn't just about defending his dog, it was about standing up for what was right. As night fell and stars twinkled above, Jason sat down at his computer and began drafting posts for social media, believing that perhaps the community would rally around them. He envisioned neighbors sharing their own stories about Rex and how he had positively impacted their lives. With every word he typed, his frustration transformed into determination, a fire ignited within him to fight for Rex's dignity and honor. It was time to take a stand not just for Rex, but for every K-9 who deserved recognition for their service. Determined to gather the evidence he needed, Jason reached out to Lieutenant Sarah Thompson, Rex's former handler and a respected member of the local police force. He remembered how much Rex had thrived under her guidance, their bond evident every time they worked together. If anyone could speak to Rex's true nature and impact, it was Sarah. The following day, Jason met Sarah at the local coffee shop, a cozy place filled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and chatter from regulars. As soon as she walked through the door, Jason felt a wave of relief wash over him. Sarah's confident demeanor and sharp mind had always inspired trust. She greeted him with a warm smile, but her expression quickly turned serious when she learned about the HOA's complaint. "This is ridiculous," she said, shaking her head. "Rex is one of the best K-9s I've ever worked with. He saved lives more than I can count." Her passion ignited Jason's hope that they could do something about this unjust situation. Jason explained his plan to compile evidence showcasing Rex's heroism, including video footage from news reports detailing the dog's incredible feats. Sarah nodded in agreement, eager to support the cause. "I can help you with that," she offered. "I still have contacts at the precinct. We can get some testimonials from other officers who worked with Rex." As they brainstormed ideas, Jason felt invigorated by their shared mission. They discussed creating a presentation for the next HOA meeting that would not only highlight Rex's accomplishments, but also emphasize how his presence enriched the community rather than posed a threat. Together, they envisioned a compelling narrative that would resonate with both the board and the residents. The more they talked, the clearer it became that this wasn't just about Rex anymore. It was about changing perceptions within their community. Jason felt a renewed sense of purpose as he realized they were building an advocacy campaign that could inspire others to recognize the value of service dogs like Rex. Before leaving, Sarah suggested they create a social media campaign to garner public support ahead of their presentation. "Let's show them just how much Rex means to this community," she said emphatically. Energized by their collaboration, Jason agreed, knowing this was just the beginning of their fight for Rex's honor and legacy. With a renewed sense of purpose, Jason and Sarah got to work immediately, diving into archives and gathering materials that would highlight Rex's bravery and contributions. They began at the local police precinct, where Sarah leveraged her connections to access files and footage that documented Rex's notable missions. Flipping through documents, Jason couldn't help but be filled with pride as he read about Rex's incredible achievements. The first task was to compile news articles that featured Rex in action, specifically focusing on his heroic deeds during high-stakes rescue situations. He recalled a particularly gripping incident that had been featured on the evening news, a life-threatening hostage scenario where Rex's quick instincts led to the safe evacuation of 3 people. Jason felt adrenaline course through him as he envisioned how impactful this footage could be when shown to the HOA board. "This is it," he remarked, excitement evident in his tone as Sarah projected a video on her laptop screen. In it, Rex was captured charging into the scene, tail straight and ears perked up, demonstrating unparalleled bravery. The image spoke volumes. Rex was not just a large dog, but a capable protector who had saved lives. They continued their research late into the evening, combing through patrol logs and past incident reports where Rex had played a pivotal role. Testimonials from other officers documented the profound impact Rex had made in dangerous situations, enhanced their narrative even further. Officers spoke about how Rex calmed victims during moments of panic and effectively apprehended suspects without causing harm. As they compiled their findings into a comprehensive presentation for the HOA meeting, Jason recognized that this wasn't merely about defending Rex against what felt like unjust scrutiny. It was about allowing the community to see him for who he truly was, a pillar of safety and companionable spirit within their neighborhood. To add weight to their campaign, Sarah suggested reaching out to residents who had benefited from Rex's service. They crafted an outreach strategy, encouraging neighbors to share their experiences with Rex on social media platforms. As positive anecdotes began to flood in alongside video snippets of Rex in action, Jason felt an overwhelming sense of solidarity building around them. Each piece of evidence felt like a stepping stone toward changing hearts and minds. Bolstered by a growing community backbone, people eager to lift up their beloved K-9, their campaign took shape vibrantly against the backdrop of initial doubt cast by the HOA's complaint. They were ready to showcase not only what Rex meant to them, but also what he symbolized, a testament to bravery and service exemplified by all K-9 veterans. The day of the HOA meeting arrived, and the air was thick with anticipation as Jason and Sarah set up their presentation in the familiar conference room. A large screen flickered to life, flanked by rows of chairs filled with skeptical board members and curious neighbors. Jason's heart raced as he glanced at Rex, who lay calmly at his feet, unaware of the tension surrounding them. "Thank you all for being here today," Jason began, his voice steady despite the fluttering in his stomach. He could see a mix of expressions, curiosity, skepticism, and even a hint of open-mindedness. "Today, we're here to discuss the complaint regarding Rex and to share his true character with you." As he spoke, Sarah stood beside him, exuding confidence. They had rehearsed this moment countless times, but nothing could quite prepare them for facing the very people who had cast doubt on Rex's reputation. With a click of the remote, the first video began to play, showcasing Rex in action during various heroic scenarios. The footage depicted Rex bounding through a field during a search and rescue mission, his instincts guiding him as he found a missing child lost in the woods. Heroic dogs don't ask for applause, but they deserve it. Sometimes, timing changes everything, just like subscribing to this channel seems to bring justice with a wagging tail. But back to the story. The room fell silent as everyone watched, eyes glued to the screen, witnessing Rex's bravery firsthand. Jason glanced around, even some skeptics appeared captivated. "This is just one of many instances where Rex has made a significant impact," Jason continued after the video ended. "He's not just a dog, he's a lifesaver. His work has touched lives in ways you can't imagine." Sarah took over, presenting testimonials from fellow officers who had worked alongside Rex. "I can vouch for his character," she said firmly. "Rex has saved lives while maintaining calm in situations that could easily spiral out of control. His presence is a source of comfort for victims and an effective tool for law enforcement." As their presentation unfolded, they displayed news articles detailing Rex's accolades and achievements, each story further solidifying his legacy as a hero in the community. The atmosphere began to shift, lingering doubts transformed into intrigue and admiration. Jason noticed some members of the audience leaning forward in their seats, murmurs of support sweeping through the crowd. The more they shared, the clearer it became that Rex was not merely an intimidating presence, but rather a vital asset to safety and community spirit. "Rex embodies loyalty, bravery, and service," Jason concluded passionately. "He deserves to be celebrated, not feared." With that final statement, he hoped their words had not only reached the board but also resonated within every neighbor present. As they finished their presentation, Jason felt a wave of relief wash over him. Together with Sarah and Rex by his side, they had made their case, a plea not just for one dog but for every service animal deserving recognition in their community. Now all they could do was wait for the board's response. Despite the powerful presentation Jason and Sarah delivered, the HOA board's response was disheartening. As Jason and Sarah waited anxiously for the board to deliberate after their compelling arguments, it became clear that the board members were not swayed by the evidence they had presented. The chairperson, Mr. Collins, cleared his throat, his expression inscrutable as he began to speak. "While we appreciate your efforts and acknowledge Rex's commendable service as a K-9, This board must adhere to community standards regarding comfort and safety, he stated firmly. The complaint we received was not about Rex's past. It was about how he is perceived in our community today. Jason could feel frustration boiling inside him. But we've shown you how Rex has positively impacted our community. His history of bravery and service speaks for itself, he interjected, desperation creeping into his voice. Mr. Collins remained unmoved. This isn't about Rex as an individual, he replied coolly. We have to consider the feelings of all residents. We believe the presence of a large dog, regardless of his background, can cause discomfort for some. Our decision stands. Jason glanced at Sarah, whose shoulders slumped slightly, mirroring his own disappointment. It seemed incomprehensible, despite presenting heartwarming testimonials and undeniable evidence of Rex's contributions to public safety, the board was rigidly committed to their stance. The discussion revealed a definite lack of willingness to engage with the nuanced reality of police canines like Rex. They were choosing to prioritize vague standards over clear contributions. As the meeting concluded, Jason felt an overwhelming sense of injustice swell within him. Was this how they treated a hero? Was Rex destined to be relegated to the shadows simply because a single complaint had ignited fear in some neighbors? Exhausted but resolute, he vowed not to let this be the end of Rex's story. Over the next few days, fueled by a mixture of anger and determination, Jason began to mobilize the community once again. He reached out on social media, sharing excerpts from their presentation alongside images of Rex in action. The response was overwhelming. Supportive comments poured in from neighbors who had seen firsthand the bond between Jason and Rex. As momentum started building, it became evident that this was not just about one dog, it was a larger conversation about acceptance and recognizing the profound service that K-9s provide. Jason understood now, if the HOA wouldn't acknowledge Rex's value, then the community would. Together, they would create a movement that could not be ignored. Fueled by outrage and a sense of injustice after the HOA's stubborn refusal to acknowledge Rex's value, Jason turned to social media as his next battleground. In the utmost determination, he crafted a heartfelt post that detailed Rex's incredible history and the unjust circumstances leading them to this moment. Accompanying the post were videos of Rex's heroic deeds, along with testimonials from local law enforcement officers who had witnessed his bravery firsthand. As he hit share, a mix of anxiety and hope washed over him. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Friends and neighbors began liking, commenting, and sharing their own stories about encounters with Rex. They recounted times when he had been a source of comfort during emergencies or provided reassurance to children in distress. Each shared memory added to Rex's narrative, painting a picture of not just a dog but a community hero. Jason quickly realized that the momentum was building beyond his expectations. He started an official Facebook group called Support Rex, a community for K-9 heroes, where residents could share their experiences and show solidarity. Within days, the group had attracted hundreds of members. People from all walks of life came together to advocate for Rex, united by their belief in what he represented. As more stories emerged, the group grew into an organized grassroots movement. Supporters arranged a rally at the community park where many had witnessed Rex in action, inviting local news outlets to cover the event. Jason marveled at how quickly this small act of resistance blossomed into something much larger than himself. It became about honoring all K-9s who serve communities selflessly. At the rally, attendees held signs that read, "Heroes wear fur and Rex is family," reflecting their belief that service dogs deserve respect rather than fear. Local news crews captured it all, broadcasting segments about Rex and the community's pushback against the HOA's decision. Jason felt inspiration surge through him as he watched people young and old speak up for Rex on camera. It was more than just support. It was a movement demanding recognition for all service animals and essentially reshaping dialogue around community comfort in a way that included rather than excluded. Back home, Jason received messages from neighboring communities eager to join in solidarity. Rex's story had sparked an awakening beyond just their neighborhood. The outcry surrounding Rex was mounting rapidly. It was clear this movement would not be silenced easily. With renewed vigor, Jason prepared for whatever came next, confident that they would prevail in showing just how special Rex truly was. As the social media campaign gained momentum, a wave of community support surged forth, with residents eager to share their own stories and experiences involving Rex and other service dogs. Jason had initially hoped for a few heartfelt anecdotes, but what unfolded was an outpouring of love and admiration that far exceeded his expectations. Neighbors began posting pictures of Rex from various community events, children hugging him, families thanking him for his service, and even former police officers sharing their pride in working alongside such a remarkable K-9. Each post carried hashtags like SupportRex and #K9 Heroes, creating a digital tapestry of testimonials that painted Rex not as a threat, but as a beloved community member. One post highlighted a local school event where Rex had helped teach children about the importance of K-9 units. A teacher recounted how Rex had calmed nervous students during a demonstration, turning what could have been a frightening experience into one filled with laughter and joy. Another story came from a family whose home had been saved from a fire after Rex led firefighters to the scene, showcasing how he had once again proven his value. The response was infectious. The Facebook group Jason had created swelled to thousands of members within days, transforming into a vibrant hub where people from all walks of life shared stories, images, and videos celebrating not only Rex, but also the contributions of service animals everywhere. Jason felt his heart swell with pride as he saw the community rallying around a cause greater than just his dog. It was about recognizing the bravery and sacrifices made by K-9s across the nation. Encouraged by this newfound solidarity, Jason and Sarah organized an event at the local park, inviting anyone who wanted to participate in a day dedicated to K-9 heroes. They arranged for local law enforcement to showcase their own service dogs, allowing attendees to learn about their training and contributions firsthand. This initiative not only highlighted Rex's legacy, but also fostered a deeper understanding of the essential role these animals play in public safety. As the day of the event approached, excitement buzzed through the community. Local news outlets began picking up the story, featuring interviews with Jason and Sarah, alongside clips from the heartfelt posts shared online. The movement was no longer just about Rex. It had evolved into a celebration of all K-9 veterans and their contributions to society. With every new story shared and every new participant joining the cause, Jason felt more empowered than ever. It became clear that their fight would resonate beyond their neighborhood, advocating for respect and recognition for all service animals. The momentum was undeniable, and Jason knew they were on the brink of achieving something significant that would honor Rex's legacy and those of countless other K-9 heroes. As the grassroots movement grew, it caught the attention of local news outlets eager to cover a story that resonated with their audiences. The combination of community support and heartfelt stories about Rex sparked curiosity among journalists. Within days, several television stations were reaching out to Jason, asking for interviews and insights into the events that had unfolded. The first news crew arrived at Jason's home early one morning, setting up cameras and lights that bathed the living room in bright, artificial glow. Nervously, Jason paced while waiting for the reporter to arrive. He had prepared his statements but still worried about how it would all come across on camera. When the cameras rolled, he spoke passionately about Rex's past and the bond they shared. He recounted how Rex had saved lives during his years in service, emphasizing their community's affection for him. Clips of Rex playing with children and interacting with families accompanied their discussion, showcasing not only his heroism but also his gentle spirit. The news segment aired that evening, featuring not just Jason's interview but also footage from the recent rally celebrating K-9 heroes. Testimonials from residents echoed through the report, showcasing vibrant snippets of individuals praising Rex's impact on their lives. "He's our protector," one local said on screen, visibly moved by the love for Rex expressed by everyone around him. As the report circulated through social media and local channels, public response was immediate and overwhelming. People began expressing outrage at how Rex had been treated by the HOA. Social media platforms buzzed with renewed energy as users chimed in with thoughts like "Justice for Rex." With local news coverage amplifying their message, public pressure mounted against the HOA board. Residents who may have previously remained indifferent now felt compelled to voice their opinions in support of Rex. Comments flooded onto platforms like Nextdoor and Facebook groups. People began airing broad concerns about how such accusations could tarnish the reputation of a beloved community member like Rex. Meanwhile, Jason received messages from more distant neighborhoods expressing solidarity. Rex's story had become emblematic of a broader conversation about acceptance and respect for service animals. Speeding up momentum within this newfound advocacy movement, he knew that cohesive community action was making waves beyond their small suburb. Encouraged by the growing support and fervor ignited by local media coverage, Jason felt revitalized and more motivated than ever. This fight for recognition transcended individual complaints. It highlighted a revered place K-9s hold in society and police work. Jason realized they were on a path not simply to defend one dog, but to honor all service animals who served with valor and love, challenging misconceptions along the way. As the community rallied around Rex, the pressure on the HOA board intensified. The once confident members found themselves increasingly scrutinized, not only by irate residents but also by their own internal discussions. In the days following the heightened media coverage, board meetings took on a different tone, filled with tension and unease as the implications of their previous decisions began to sink in. During one particularly contentious session, board member Linda Thomas voiced her concerns about how their decision was being perceived in light of the community's overwhelming support for Rex. "We can't ignore what's happening outside these walls," she urged, glancing around at her fellow members. "This backlash isn't just a fleeting moment, it's turning into a movement." Some members nodded, while others remained defensive, clinging to the idea that community comfort standards were paramount. Mr. Collins, the chairperson, attempted to maintain control of the meeting. "We based our decision on one complaint," he asserted, but his tone lacked conviction, showing signs of wavering confidence as he spoke. The conversations shifted from defending their stance to reconsidering what it meant for the HOA to represent the voice of the community. As Jason's social media posts gained traction and continued to circulate widely, even those who had previously supported the board began questioning whether they had made the right decision. Emails and phone calls flooded in from residents expressing their discontent with how Rex, an integral part of their community, was treated. Recognizing the growing discontent within their ranks, some board members started proposing new ideas for outreach and engagement with residents, aiming to demonstrate that they were listening. Discussions emerged about organizing an event to acknowledge service animals and perhaps even create educational opportunities highlighting their contributions. Meanwhile, Jason kept his ear to the ground, aware of the shifting dynamics within the HOA. Each news story published and every positive comment shared online fortified his belief that change was possible. He knew that if they could shift public perception loud enough, it might force the HOA to reconsider their stance or face further backlash and ridicule. In meetings among friends and neighbors at local cafes, conversations centered not only on Rex, but also on how communities could better support service animals and their handlers moving forward. This evolving dialogue caught fire throughout social media. Hashtags like Respect K-9 Heroes gained momentum as more people became involved in advocating for change. With each passing day bringing increased scrutiny toward the HOA's decisions, Jason felt a renewed sense of hope. The movement he had ignited was more than just about defending one dog. It had transformed into a powerful call for justice and recognition for all K-9 heroes who have served selflessly. And now, with support swelling around them, it seemed inevitable that their voices would soon reach those in power, a turning point that could redefine community standards altogether. Amid the rising public sentiment and intensifying scrutiny, the HOA board finally agreed to meet with Jason and community representatives. The decision came after a flood of emails and calls from residents expressing their outrage and disappointment in how Rex had been treated. It was a significant turning point that Jason had been both hoping for and working toward throughout the entire ordeal. Jason felt a mix of excitement and anxiety as he prepared for the upcoming meeting. This time it would be different. He gathered not only his own thoughts but also the heartfelt messages from the community, showing how deeply Rex was valued. Lieutenant Sarah Thompson was also on board, ready to provide her perspective on Rex's character and service. The meeting room was packed with community members who had come to lend their support, filling every seat and standing along the walls. They were determined to be heard. As Jason entered, he felt encouraged by the presence of so many supporters, a living testament to the movement that had grown around Rex. When the board members filed in, there was an undeniable tension in the air. Mr. Collins, visibly concerned, opened the meeting by acknowledging the public outcry surrounding Rex's situation. "We've seen a lot of discussion about this matter," he stated cautiously, glancing at his fellow board members. "And we recognize that many in our community feel strongly." Jason seized the moment. "Thank you for meeting with us," he began, his voice steady yet passionate. "Rex is not just a dog, he's a hero who has saved lives. Dismissing him as intimidating undermines everything he stands for." The room fell silent, all eyes on Jason as he continued to present evidence of Rex's contributions and the overwhelming support he had garnered. As Jason spoke, Sarah added her insights, describing her experiences alongside Rex during his years of service in law enforcement. The testimonials from community members played in the background, reinforcing their narrative of Rex as a beloved protector rather than a threat. The emotions in the room began to shift. Board members exchanged glances filled with uncertainty as they absorbed the reality of what they were witnessing, the strength of community unity brought forth by one dog's legacy. After what felt like hours, Mr. Collins finally spoke up again. "Given this new perspective and the community's response," he said slowly, "we would like to reconsider our stance on Rex." A wave of relief mingled with cautious optimism swept through the audience. This pivotal moment marked not just a potential resolution for Rex, but also represented a significant change in the HOA's approach to community standards and engagement moving forward. Jason held his breath, feeling that they were on the cusp of real change, not just for Rex, but for all K-9 veterans deserving recognition and respect. In the aftermath of their pivotal meeting, the HOA board convened again to deliberate on their next steps regarding Rex's situation. The growing community support and the emotional testimonies they had heard weighed heavily on their minds. Members exchanged glances filled with a mix of apprehension and recognition of the need for change. It was clear that disregarding the community's sentiment would have far-reaching consequences for their reputation. As they gathered around the conference table, Mr. Collins initiated the discussion. "We need to address this situation thoughtfully. The public outcry is substantial, and it would be prudent to consider how we can rectify our earlier decision," he stated, his tone more reflective than authoritative. Board member Linda Thomas chimed in, her voice steady. "We have an opportunity here not only to correct our mistake, but also to honor those like Rex who serve our community so bravely. Perhaps we could establish a memorial plaque recognizing K-9 veterans." The suggestion sparked nods of agreement around the room. They began brainstorming ideas, contemplating how best to honor Rex's legacy while also rebuilding trust within the community. As conversations unfolded about organizing a ceremony for the unveiling of the plaque, excitement replaced hesitation among board members. Meanwhile, Jason was informed of the board's discussions through a supportive neighbor who had attended the meeting. He could hardly believe his ears. It felt as though a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. There was finally a path forward, a way to not only defend Rex, but also celebrate him alongside all K-9 veterans. When the board ultimately announced their decision publicly, it was met with resounding applause from the community. They retracted their previous demand regarding Rex and committed to funding a memorial plaque to honor K-9s who have served faithfully. The announcement signaled not just acceptance of Rex's contributions, but a broader commitment to respect and recognize all service animals. On the day of the unveiling, Jason stood proudly next to Sarah and Rex as community members gathered at the park for the ceremony. Children held colorful signs that read K-9 Heroes, while adults shared stories about their own experiences with service animals. The atmosphere was jubilant, filled with laughter and warmth as people celebrated not just Rex, but all K-9s who had served selflessly. As Jason looked around at the joyful faces surrounding him, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. This victory was more than just about one dog. It symbolized unity, respect, and recognition for countless heroes in furry coats. The movement he had ignited had transformed into something profound, an enduring legacy for K-9 veterans that would resonate throughout their community for years to come. As Jason stood at the unveiling ceremony for the memorial plaque honoring K-9 veterans, he felt a profound sense of reflection wash over him. Surrounded by members of the community who had rallied together in support of Rex, he realized that their collective action had made a significant impact, not just for his beloved dog, but for all service animals deserving recognition and respect. Looking at the gleaming plaque that would forever commemorate the bravery and sacrifices of K-9s, Jason thought about how far they had come. The journey had begun with a single complaint that labeled Rex as intimidating, but it had transformed into a powerful movement advocating for awareness and appreciation of service animals. This was more than just a victory. It symbolized a change in how the community viewed their K-9 heroes. In that moment, Jason understood the importance of unity and determination. It wasn't just about defending Rex. It was about coming together to challenge misconceptions and elevate the narrative surrounding service animals. His experience underscored the idea that when people join forces with shared compassion, they can affect real change, even in the face of authority. As children ran around, holding signs celebrating K-9 heroes, Jason recalled his initial feelings of frustration and isolation when facing the HOA. Now, those feelings were replaced with gratitude for the friends, neighbors, and advocates who stood by his side. They had shared stories of wrecks and contributed to an atmosphere where understanding prevailed over fear. Throughout this process, Jason recognized that respect for service animals extended beyond just wrecks. It encompassed all those who serve in silence, providing safety and comfort to communities every day. Their unwavering loyalty deserved recognition not just in words but through actions that celebrate their contributions rather than question their presence. With his heart swelling with pride, Jason looked out at the crowd and felt a renewed sense of purpose. The movement they had ignited was not merely a reaction, but a legacy that would educate future generations about the invaluable roles service dogs play in their lives. He envisioned a future where every K-9 would be honored for their service, where stories like Rex's would continue to inspire others. Leaving the ceremony, Jason knew that while they had achieved much, their journey was not yet complete. He pledged to continue advocating for all service animals, ensuring that their sacrifices would never be forgotten. Collective action had proven its strength, a lesson he carried forward with hope and determination as he embarked on this new chapter alongside Rex by his side. As the sun rose on the day of the unveiling ceremony, a palpable sense of excitement filled the air at the community park. People gathered, their anticipation evident as they chatted animatedly, eagerly awaiting the moment when Rex would be honored for his service and bravery. Banners emblazoned with K-9 heroes adorned the park, while families and friends brought homemade signs celebrating Rex and all service dogs like him. Jason stood at the front, flanked by Lieutenant Sarah Thompson and Rex, who seemed to bask in the attention. The atmosphere was jubilant, filled with laughter and warmth as children waved their signs, some even wearing capes decorated with paw prints. It was a celebration of loyalty, courage, and community spirit. As the ceremony began, Jason took a deep breath and stepped up to the microphone. "Thank you all for being here today," he said, his voice steady but emotional. "Today is not just about honoring Rex. It's about recognizing all K-9 veterans who have served bravely alongside our law enforcement officers." The crowd erupted into applause, their cheers echoing across the park. Sarah took her turn at the microphone next, speaking passionately about Rex's contributions during his years of service. She recounted stories of heroism, detailing how Rex had calmed victims during emergencies and had played pivotal roles in searches that saved lives. With each word, she painted an image of Rex not merely as a dog, but as a partner in safety and protection. Finally, it was time for the unveiling. A large cloth draped over the memorial plaque was removed with dramatic flair to reveal a beautifully crafted tribute that bore Rex's name alongside an inscription honoring all K-9 veterans. The plaque gleamed in the sunlight, symbolizing not only Rex's individual contributions, but also serving as a reminder of the sacrifices made by countless other service animals. As Jason stepped back to take in the scene, he felt tears welling in his eyes, not from sadness but from overwhelming pride. Community members hugged one another and shared stories about their own experiences with K-9s. Each narrative added layers to the legacy they were creating together. As conversations bubbled around him, Jason realized this moment marked more than just an acknowledgement of Rex. It was a watershed moment for respect toward service animals everywhere. The bond between law enforcement and the community had strengthened through their collective efforts to honor these furry heroes. Feeling invigorated by this sense of unity and shared purpose, Jason vowed to continue advocating for all service animals. He understood that this victory would ripple through time, a lasting testament to what could be achieved when individuals came together to stand up for those who serve selflessly. With Rex proudly by his side, Jason looked toward a future filled with promise and respect for all K-9 veterans who deserved recognition for their unwavering loyalty and bravery.